Now he's thinking about fulfilling a personal dream about playing for Oakland, his hometown team. In Monday Morning quarterback Peter King says Lynch wants to do good things for his foundation in the area and thinks this would be a great chance to accomplish both. Raiders punter Marquette King tweeting this, "Hey, at Money Lynch, I got your cleats back for you, bro." Max, tough question for you here. Which team is closer to a Lombardi, the Raiders or the Seahawks?
It's an interesting question because last year, the Raiders were a trendy pick, and I thought everyone was a year too early on the bandwagon. But right up until Derek Carr got hurt, I thought, wow, maybe they can do it this year. And then he got hurt, and that was all she wrote. No real backup quarterback there. If Derek Carr comes back 100%, the answer is the Oakland Raiders. They are actually closer, and furthermore, they're trending in the right direction. Look, I always give Seattle credit for being the closest thing the NFC has to the Patriots, but they are aging. Their offensive line is not very good, to say the least. They have devoted precious few resources to it in recent years. The idea being, hey, we'll just get whoever and kind of they'll come together over the course of the season and we'll coach them up and all that. But it hasn't really worked. Ever since they traded Max Unger, their center, who was excellent, for Jimmy Graham, that team has gone backwards. Now look at the offensive line for the Oakland Raiders, and I would argue that's where you start in terms of you're looking for a championship team, provided they have a quarterback. Let's look at that O-line. It affects everything. It affects the other team's defense. It affects your running game, your passing game, everything. Makes the other DBs worse, everything. And the Raiders have a superb offensive line. And everything trending in the right direction. So I would say, due respect to Seattle, actually, the Oakland Raiders are not only closer to a Super Bowl than Seattle, but they get Marshawn Lynch and have a decent defensive draft. They might be my Super Bowl pick this year.
Well, first of all, I think you're wrong, but there's no surprise there. I mean, the fact of the matter is when you look at the AFC, for example, the Raiders are in that division. You've got the Chiefs and the Denver Broncos to deal with, not to mention Pittsburgh, New England, and others in other divisions. If you're the Seattle Seahawks within the NFC West, you're dealing with Arizona, who had a down year this year, St. Louis, who's had a down year every year that Jeff Fisher's been there, even though they're on the come up, of course. And you look at the San Francisco 49ers, don't even get me started in terms of their ineptitude. Good luck to Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch in turning that around. I look at Seattle, and I look at the fact that you have a defense that is elite. The combination of the defense being elite and a playmaker like Russell Wilson, who's coming off a down year to some degree because he was hurt half the year. And I think that puts Seattle in an incredibly formidable position, and there's somebody that can't be ignored. This was the #3 ranked defense in the entire NFL last year, #5 in points allowed, and obviously #8 against in terms of pass yards, #7. So you just look at them and what they do and what they bring to the table. Your defense is always going to keep you in the game. What do the Oakland Raiders do? Yes, they have Derek Carr, with Amari Cooper, with a Michael Crabtree, okay? And if you got Marshawn Lynch, that certainly is not going to hurt you. Plus, you've got an offensive line. On the defensive side of the ball, you have Khalil Mack, and maybe Bruce Irvin to a lesser degree. Everything else is a crapshoot about this team. Defense wins championships. And the fact of the matter is that when you look at Seattle and what they bring to the table, even though I respect Oakland, I like the direction that they're moving in, and I'm very impressed with Carr and Cooper and Crabtree, in the end, I'm going to roll with the Legion of Boom. I'm going to roll with their experience. I'm going to assume Earl Thomas is coming back. I know Russell Wilson is going to be back, and I'm just of the mindset that they're much closer to a Super Bowl championship than the Oakland Raiders are right now, because defense is something that you can rely upon. And don't tell me there's any way in hell that we can rely on the Oakland Raiders defense.
You know what my predecessor, the great Larry Merchant, my predecessor ringside, Stephen A. used to say, or has told me about defense wins championships? You'll like this. Defense wins championships, except when offense does. I mean, sometimes offense wins championships. In fact, it's like half the time it does. And that Raiders offense is something special, and the addition of Marshawn Lynch will make it specialer. And incidentally, defensively, they got better as the year went on. And you mentioned Khalil Mack. Who's in the competition for best defensive player in football? Aaron Donald, Khalil Mack, and if J.J. Watt is 100%, obviously J.J. Watt, Khalil Mack is arguably the best defensive player in the game, period. Yes, they have a little work to do on defense still in the draft, but offensively, they are ready to go. And though early in the year they were winning games by small margins, and the Raiders were, and you think, well, maybe there'll be some regression to the mean. Again, they were a year ahead of schedule last year. Provided Derek Carr comes back healthy, the Raiders are going to be a whole lot of this year, a whole lot of.
I just want to make sure I'm clear. Did you just use the word specialer?
Yes, specialer.
Is that what you said? Is that what you said?
Taking poetic license.
I was just saying. I never knew that was a word. I just appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Now.
I definitely want to elevate my vocabulary, and you're just the person to help me do it. Thank you,
Yes.
special.
When you reach a certain level, you get to make words up.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Fair enough. So be it. But in the end, what it comes down to is this: can you tell me a team that's won a Super Bowl with a sorry defense?
With a sorry defense? I'm not suggesting they can win with a sorry defense.
A not so good defense. Could you tell me who?
Well, do you think the Atlanta Falcons had a particularly good defense because they should have won
Second half of the season? Yes, they did. Second half of the season, yes, they did.
It was okay. It was trending in the right direction, as was the Raiders.
It was better than average, and it was better than average the last 8 weeks of the season.
Right. I'm not I said they have a little work to do on defense, but you don't have to be a dominant defensive team to win a championship.
Yeah,
Just
but the
as you
Raiders
don't have to be a dominant offensive team, but one should be dominant at least.
But the Raiders stunk defensively for most of the year.
Yes, as did the Falcons. They were basically the AFC Falcons.
Okay. All right. Okay. No problem.